Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Butternomics. I'm your host, Brandon Butler, founder and CEO of Butter ATL. And today, man, we got the man himself up in here, man. I had to make a couple phone calls. I had to call some friends. I mean, me and him cool and all, but I still had to make a couple other calls too, just to make sure that his schedule was clear, he was available. Because, I know you've seen this man on social media. I know you've seen this man just out here doing amazing things. The one, the only, Mr. Marty Woodard, man. Marty, how you doing?
Man, what's up, brother? Thank you for the introduction, man. You did have to do a little bit. Sometimes I'm hard. They say easy to talk to, hard to get a hold of. Right?
Man, look,
But no, I'm happy to be here, bro. For sure.
I appreciate you, bro, man. Look. So I know I'm sure people know who you are, so we're going to get into all that stuff, man. But we do something a little bit different here on Butternomics, man. One of the first things I like to do with people is, everybody likes to say, like, what's your bio? Tell us about yourself. Actually, I asked ChatGPT who you were.
Oh, wow. I wasn't ready for that. Go.
I asked ChatGPT who you were, so I'm going to read you what ChatGPT says about you. And I know that's one of your best friends, you know what I'm saying? So you've been probably giving it some good information. So we're gonna see. You ready for this? And let me know if it's on, if it's off, if it's missing anything, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, I'm with it.
Because I know you got that $200 a month plan. So all right, man. So look, Mahdi Woodard is a marketing specialist and entrepreneur based in Atlanta. He's known for helping business leaders create content that drives both visibility and revenue without requiring them to be online constantly. His background includes classical trading and consumer packaged goods marketing, with experience developing products and leading integrated campaigns for Fortune 100 companies. Currently, he runs his own consulting firm and serves as chief marketing officer of Been Broke Before, as a social enterprise focused on financial literacy and underserved communities. He's also an active speaker, having presented at events like A3C and the Hue Design Summit, where he shares insights on branding, content strategy, and entrepreneurship. If you're looking for someone that bridges corporate marketing expertise with focus on community impact and digital strategy, he's your guy.
Wow.
That's what chat says, bro.
Wow. Man, that's powerful. Sometimes you just be head down doing the work that you don't stop to think about it in that regard. So I would say, yeah, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, man. That's good, man. Well, look, man. So let me just get into it, man. When people ask you nowadays, what do you do, man? What's your answer? Like,
It's the hardest thing in the world to you know what I mean? At the core of it though, like I'm a marketing strategist, right? I typically have to add another sentence to that because most people only pick up marketing at the very end of it when you are doing the fun communication promotion stuff. But I pick up marketing at the beginning of it, like the research. Should this thing even exist? And if so, like now let's go through the process of figuring out whatever it is. So I'm a consultant more than anything. Like that's my brain, my thought process. But I have to fit into a lot of other boxes, man. Coach to some people, business partner to other folks, advisor to other people. But yeah, at the core of it, I would say marketing strategist.
I love the definition you talk about too with marketing, because I tell people that all the time, right? I think, I think they don't understand what marketing really means. And to your point, like marketing is literally figuring out what your market wants. It's the research. It's all the work. Like y'all think it's advertising. People get marketing and advertising mixed up all the time. And I tell people, it's like, no, like by marketing, by definition, if you're figuring out who your audience is, if you know what they want and you create that, then technically speaking, when you bring it to that audience, you should have product market fit and it should be flying off the shelf. And then, but at that point, you're doing advertising. But like, from your standpoint, do people not get marketing and advertising mixed up like all the
Oh,
time?
all the time. So yes, and people like you did a great job encapsulating it, right? Most people go in their corner of the world and they create something. And so what they're calling product market fit is really their own um, ignorance packaged up. And I mean ignorance and not knowing, not taking a dig at them. But they go make something and go, since I made it, there must be an audience for it. And I'm going the complete other way. What is the audience out here? What do they want? What do they need? Do I have the skill set? Do I have the resources? Or do I have the willingness to go find or develop these things? And then to your point, we got product market fit. And from that part, yeah, now we're communicating, we're advertising, we're doing the fun, creative stuff. But before that, if you don't do that up front part first, you're either gonna get lucky, but most people are gonna fail.
Yeah. I mean, I tell people, like, you don't know product market fit until you've seen it. I had Kiera on here from Ladies Who Golf, right? And like it was, I was talking to her and she was saying like, yeah, like once we launched this thing, we had to make a couple of tweaks, but like this thing has grown into like almost a 7-figure business in less than a year. I'm like, yes, that's product market fit. Like you did something and you brought it out there and it hit. Otherwise, again, people are launching stuff and they realize like, hey, how come people don't like this? It's like, no, like you haven't done the research. You've been over here in this little bubble. Like, why do you think people get so caught up in kind of like just building things in their little silo and being scared to, do the research and all the market work up front?
Yeah, so I think we live in a world now. If you know the phrase like your truth, right? We living in a world that's hyper individualistic, and to a degree, I do. I'm an advocate for people taking themselves serious and putting themselves first. But you got to put that in context, right? So when you want to go talk about something that you want to go make $1 million, you want to go serve tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people, it might help to talk to those folks, right? Just a little bit and get some feedback. And then there's another level of training on how do you interpret and trust the feedback. Because you can't always, you ask most people what they want everything. So you can't make everything, right? But yeah, I think people, they don't realize how intense it is because they get marketed to and they go, wow, I probably could do this. So I always give the analogy. Going to the dentist does not make you a dentist, right? Getting marketed to don't make you a marketer. You wouldn't wake up tomorrow and expect to know how to do a root canal. Why would you wake up tomorrow and expect to know how to do an integrated marketing campaign? So they got to put a little respect on it.
What are some of the steps you go through, like when you're identifying? Because I mean, man, you've launched a ton of products. I've seen you building things. I mean, again, driving tons of revenue. Like, what's kind of your process when you're thinking about new products and services? Like, how do you kind of start that from 0 to 1?
Man, beautiful question. And I've been asked a lot of questions in a lot of interviews, and that's not one of them. So I say the first thing I start from, again, should this thing even exist or not? So I think where most people mess up is if something doesn't exist, they assume that nobody else has thought about it. I go look to see, has this thing been created and has it failed before? Or has it succeeded before? So if it's doing well in another market, but it's just not here, those are usually sleepers and sweet spots. So think about like we're in Atlanta. We don't have certain franchises that already have a proven business model in other cities, other states. So sometimes you can win just by bringing a proven product to a market that doesn't have it. You can find that, you got to win, right? Other than that, we're talking about bringing something new to the world. Gear up for it, right? So I'm looking for what is the buying power of that given market? Like, is this something that they're proven to want to spend money on? Are they finding a workaround to it? That's another thing to let you know you got to hit. If people don't quite have a master solution and everybody you talk to got the same problem, but they're finding their own way, I do it like this, or I rig it up like this, you might have something. So I go through that entire process to figure out, does it exist? Has it ever existed before? Is this a modification or a tweak that I need to do in order to bring it to the market? And that's how you get some of those bigger things. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. I think, and to your point, right? I think Atlanta's not a real place. We say that all the time, and I know me personally, I love to get outside the city. I love to go see different things. And I think, yeah, like you got to go see. Because I'm gonna be honest, a lot of y'all be starting I call them Atlanta businesses.
For sure. Absolutely.
Businesses that would only work here because you ain't going nowhere, you ain't seen nothing different. And yes, man, it's like when you go other places, you see other things, you get other perspectives. I mean, I would even argue to say there are a lot of things in Atlanta that would travel very well. Atlanta travels very well, but just getting outside of your comfort zone and your normal space, right, and going and seeing things and saying like, oh, this could actually work or exist here because
You said something powerful there, right? And I don't mean to cut you off. I get excited. If you go to New York, right, you can get a snapshot of the future compared to most other cities. If you go to LA, you can start to triangulate that. So you see it working in New York, you see it working in LA. It probably ain't made it to Atlanta yet. You got something, right? But the same thing happens in Atlanta for smaller markets. And I think oftentimes these are non-sexy brands, non-sexy ideas, but you just said something powerful. Like if something's working in Atlanta, you might have a chance in another market that's similar to the demographics here. It might can work in Birmingham. It might can work in Charlotte. It might can work in Nashville. But you got to know how to time it all the way up. And I think the biggest, if anything, the biggest mistake people make is projecting themselves on the audience. You have to remember that even if you overlap with them, you may not be identical with them. So be careful to say, I wouldn't do this, so somebody else wouldn't.
Yeah, one of the favorite things that I've learned is, especially when it comes to the West Coast, I always say like the things that the nerds do on the weekends and in their free time are usually become like trends, right? Because when you think about it, especially on the West Coast, you got people with disposable income. They got all this Facebook money and all these exit money, and they coming up with all these like weird trends and stuff like that. But like those kind of become the things that all of a sudden over a little time becomes mainstream, right? So like, how do you kind of spot and identify trends?
So I don't get to travel as much as I used to. In corporate, that's what we did. We travel all the time. Now I spend a lot of time in other people's comments and I look at how they're reacting, how they're responding to some type of stimuli that's put before them. Because I don't have time to make all the content and test it myself. So I might just go look and see what people are saying. What are they asking? And is something bubbling up that could be something? So first, I would say if you're a smaller creator, if you're an entrepreneur and you don't have as much resource, go find somebody that's either in your market or adjacent to it and see what people are praising or see what people are complaining about, right? I might also go do some book reviews. I'll jump on Amazon and I'll look at what people are saying in the comments. What chapter of a book do they resonate with? What is it that keeps coming up? And then does this thing even exist somewhere? But the cool part, and we were talking a little bit off camera, like I've got this hobby around bird photography, right? But if I look at where things are broken, there's a huge gap between I want to go find this particular species, but I don't know where to go to find it. And so there's all these workarounds. There's Facebook groups, there's group me's, there's people solving for it. Like, what if it was just what if there was a resource that told you right here, right now? And so that type of stuff is kind of what I would do, where I would go, and what I would do to find different opportunities.
And I mean, again, I think what people got to understand and what I'm hearing you saying is it's the idea around just insights. It's like you can consume all this data, all this information, but at a certain point, you got to take a step back and saying, like, what is this telling me? And look, man, I mean, look, we're gonna get onto this AI thing in just a second, but like, again, here's a fun hack for folks. Like, again, like, go to Facebook pages or go to Instagram accounts, export the comments, dump them into Chat GPT in a CSV file, and be like, yo, what trends and insight? Like, there's lots of ways that you can do this and use AI to help you do this in a way that's a lot more efficient, right?
For speed, we used to have to. We used to do this stuff for weeks and months, right? Just to do what you just said. You can dump multiple social platforms. You can go YouTube. You can go Instagram, TikTok, whatever. Dump all of it in there and go, give me the high levels. Give me the like in music, how you got a deep cut, right? But what are people saying but not really saying, right? What else is here? And then specifically, one of my favorite things to ask AI is to say, act like an investor, right? What of these ideas would you invest in right now if you had $1 million and you wanted an X% return, something like that, and start to let it like do some consulting work for you.
Good one right there, man. That's a good one. Like, so I was telling my boy, actually yesterday we were talking about it, and I was like, look, man, this is what I do. Like, I'm like, bro, I ain't watched a YouTube video in like a month. I literally, the other day, as I'm working on this new tool, this automation tool called N8N. Some people have heard of it. It is used for automation, right? I literally went to their YouTube channel. I have another tool that I use to download the transcripts of every single video they had. It took me like 2 minutes. All those video transcripts, I didn't upload it in the chat to train it in a project. And then I went and found the other, like the top 20 other like N8N creator videos, tutorial, download all those, trained it. And now I already got a chat bot, a chat GPT thread where I'm like, okay, look, I want to build a workflow for this. And you have all the training and information right there, and boom, it spits it out in seconds.
You use Poppy? Because it sounds...
Bro, look, I'm this close. I've been wanting to use Poppy.
Oh, I'm going to introduce you. I know the founders. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll do a call directly.
I've seen it all. What do you think about it? Like,
oh, it's fire. It's fire. It's basically you would plug it right into that same workflow. Dump multiple different types of media in there, let it pull stuff and rapidly respond and stay sort of focused on that stream of consciousness. Yeah, I'm making an introduction. That's easy.
Oh man, see that's, man, look, podcast over.
right. No, yeah, bro, I love it. Yeah.
What are some of your other favorite AI tools out there right now, man?
So I would say at top of the list would be Poppy right now, because I like comparing a bunch of different things. So it can transcribe, it can grab anything from anywhere and be able to sort of either respond to it or find some correlations or find some outliers, that whole thing. But I'll go back to still the tried and true. And we were talking about it just now, but most people aren't even using ChatGPT to its fullest potential, right? So people are going wide with a little dusting when they could be going really, really deep. So just I would say for the average listener, go in ChatGPT, upload documents. I think you can upload like 20 documents on whatever you want to train it on to give it a base on who you are, what you do, especially if you're not like a public figure. That way you just get a baseline. But then you can go into projects, or you can build your custom GPTs. I like building custom GPTs. They're really quick. Once you build them, you can save most of the information on the doc, so you can move really fast. But I think you gotta, even with any of these, regardless of what it is, you gotta have a direction on what you're trying to get to. So for me, I'm trying to save time on ideating because sometimes I can spiral just getting my own self thinking and going. I'm trying to save time on automating anything that's got to be repeated. Like, why would you keep doing that, right? So even if it isn't hardcore AI, like the way we use mini chat, the way we use Zapier, the way we use Make, the way we use all these other tools, if you got to do something twice, like let the software do it for you. So I'll stop there, but I would say the power of for sure Chat GPT. I still like Claude for doing some additional copywriting type things, but Poppy right now is sitting at the top of the hill for me.
Seen Poppy, I've seen it popping up more and more. I definitely
Oh, I got another one too. My bad. It's called Cassidy. So I use Cassidy like a internal like intranet listserv of your own company. So I upload all of my IP and I might say, hey, write me, I'm about to go interview on Butternomics. Write me a story about how we use DMs to dollars, right? That's one of a class. It'll go pull anything that's referenced that, and it'll tell you, it'll index it. So I pull this from your PowerPoint, I pull this from your investor deck, I pull this from, your presentation that you gave, but it's all your internal documentation. So I like it for that reason. If you want to be able to index stuff and find your own stuff really fast and recreate, or if you want to sort of curate out of your own information, is fine for that.
love it, man. And I look at and I see you put out the prompts and stuff like that. I was telling my boy the other day, I'm like, look, man, I'm the prompt king, but Marty be killing it. Like, I got a prompt that makes prompts that then
Right.
so I make a prompt, right? And then it rewrites that into a better prompt, and then it checks that prompt against something else, and then it writes an even more optimized like I sent somebody a prompt the other day. That shit was like 5 pages. I was like, I tell people, I'm like, look, man, just open it up, hit the voice button on chat, and just talk to it
And just talk.
for like 5-10 minutes.
And I think people don't understand where we are in the arc of this thing, right? So at this point, information, the cost of it is going down to zero, right? So it's not about information. It's about think about how irregular info has spread it over the years. If your dad was a carpenter and my dad was an electrician, if they didn't talk to each other, one of them didn't know about the other one's craft, and the kids definitely didn't know. Now all of this stuff lives in one major place. You just got to know what questions to ask. And that comes with experience, that comes with wisdom, that comes with a lot of us having this corporate training, having great mentors. But if you don't know where to start, do your best version of a prompt and just add this sentence. Just say, keep in mind, I don't know what I don't know. So if I'm missing any information or if there's anything I should be asking, please recommend that. And just start going down that path.
I love the way you just talked about too, just people don't know, especially in the stance of, again, going back to this whole idea of Atlanta. Atlanta's a wonderful place. It's a very entrepreneur-based city, but I think a lot of times too, there's a lot of people that because they haven't had that corporate experience or that corporate training, they just don't simply know how to work or work efficiently. And so a lot of times it's weird. Like people kind of see like, oh man, you had a corporate job as like a negative. I'm like, no, bro, that's like the ultimate hack. Like you're learning how to work on somebody else's dime. Like, how do you think? I mean, how is even just again, you've worked in corporate work, Fortune 100 companies. Like, how has that not helped you in your business as an entrepreneur?
Immensely. Let me tell you what the number one thing that corporate helped me. It helped me learn how to shut up and listen. Because when you're at that junior level, like you're itching to say something, you want to prove your value, you want to show that your college education or that your first role at this other company mattered. But sometimes, like when you are around people who have done the stuff that you aspire to do, the best thing you can do is just shut up and listen. And now I find myself recalling all this information because I didn't speak and I'm just taking notes. That's the greatest gift that I didn't even know I was receiving at the time. So that was one, is to be able to look at wisdom in the room and know, like, if you can't improve on the conversation, you can just be quiet and nobody will ever know where you sit at, right? That's one. Second one of the things I got from one of the best leaders I worked for, he always started his advice from the bottom. I'm sorry, his feedback from the bottom up. Because if he spoke first, everybody else would just parrot what he said. Oh yeah, just what John said, right? As opposed to start from the most junior person. Hey, what did you hear? What's your perspective? Then go to their manager. Then go to their manager. So by the time it got to him, either he was synthesizing and making a decision, or he was showing you the gap in between what wasn't seen or what wasn't heard. And that way you could kind of build the conversation off of there. That was powerful. I also learned good and bad how to lead people. And you get a real gut check when you get high enough to start leading folks. Because it's one thing to be good at your job, it's another thing to be able to do your job, also give a person enough space to grow into theirs and not jump in to save them every time they're doing something how you wouldn't do it. Keep in mind, our goal is the outcome. We can't micromanage the process. We may have, forgive me, depending on the industry, we might have different ways we do stuff, but a lot of this stuff is left up to interpretation. You just got a date and a deadline and a budget to hit, and how somebody else works their magic. You can learn a whole lot from just observing that process too. So, corporate, if you haven't, I recommend everybody go work as long as you can. Get that perspective. These companies are 100 years old. I work for a 100-year-old company, and we live in a world now where if you make it 3-5 years, you think you did something. Like, what is it like to pass information and IP down for 100 years, and you get to sit at the feet of that and just learn and take it all in? So it's been a godsend for me. Now, I didn't know it at the time. I was fighting it, right? I was fighting it. But if I could go back and tell my younger self something now, I would say just keep taking notes, and when your time comes, you'll be ready.
Yeah, man. Again, I think when people are in it, they don't necessarily see it. I mean, yeah, we of all of us, right? Like you sat back in those rooms, you're like, man, be doing my own thing, and you don't even know what all comes with that. But yeah, once like you get out here, I really believe that it's a superpower. I tell people like having that experience, or even working for corporate while you're building your own thing. Because when you jumping out there, you jumping out there.
And you gotta like the one thing about entrepreneurship, like cash flow, that day in, day out, there's some bill to pay every day. I don't care how much you plan and how much you budget. Something's gonna break, something's gonna pop up, some fancy thing gonna catch your idea. But your business model might not be set up to bring in cash flow every day. And so just understanding how to manage the money coming in, the money going out, and the emotions that come with it, especially if you got a spouse, especially if you got some kids, especially if the market, you did all the research right and the market ain't responding how you thought they should respond. Like, you really want to do all that on your own dollars? All right. I'll see.
Let me know how that works out for you.
I love that for you, right? But I think more than anything, it's a journey of personal development, and you go through this process of getting out of your ego because you got to be in a place of service if you actually want to stay in business long enough. So,
Man, and I mean, you've done all this stuff. I mean, obviously, with the, helping people learn how to create content and DMs and dollars and all that stuff, you built an amazing business. And, I kind of want to ask, this is kind of a two-part question, right? Like one part of it is based on everything based on, tools now with AI and all these things that exist, how would you start over? But then also, I've also seen you talk about how you've been starting over, kind of getting more involved in like the bird watching space. So like, how do those two things come together?
so if I was starting over, the first thing I would do is try to find a gap in small businesses, and I would do more of a B2B type business, right? So I would go in, like let's do reversal, right? There's probably some stuff that's happening as you all grow this podcast that you're like, we didn't think about, we need, right? I'm looking for those things because one thing for sure, two things for certain, y'all are committed. Y'all gonna keep showing up. Y'all gonna keep dropping episodes. You just showed me that you guys took over State Farm. In between there, we got to do a post-op. What do we wish we could have done better? And the same thing, I'm gonna be like, hey, so basically I'm hearing you say you need like a little whoop whoop, right? Because I'd rather find 3, 5, 7 of those types of projects than to go out here and try to conquer this entire market with some idea I came up with in my third bedroom. Like, that's crazy. Give yourself time to grow into that, right? Find some people that are established but still got opportunities because they're growing really rapid, and plug yourself in. So if I was starting over, I would probably do that. Even the step before that, I wouldn't leave my job so soon. I would have just taken a step down at my job. What happened is I was overwhelmed. I got promoted. I also had this new idea that I thought could be something. And that combination, you don't think you're reacting emotionally, but that combination of emotion, I got a new role. It was you ever had a promotion that was also a slap in the face? Right? So in corporate, you want to be on the brands with the biggest budgets. If you're at Coca-Cola corporate, you want to work on Coca-Cola, Sprite, Diet Coke. Like, you don't want to work on Honest Tea Company, right? You know what I'm saying? I don't even think they exist no more. But like, so I got a promotion, but then moved over to a smaller brand. And I was like, okay, that's what we're doing, right? And so emotionally, I just sort of moved too soon out of excitement for this new thing when I could have just said, hey, listen, I just want to be an individual contributor. I don't want no more direct reports. If that comes with a price adjustment, cool. but I can get off work and actually be off work now, right? And I would have started doing my thing on the side until they sort of matched up financially. So you got to kind of weigh the risk and reward. But if I was starting over, one, be patient with your job. Two, look B2B before B2C because there's more stability there. And go from there. And then what was the second part of the question? I might have missed it.
And then, like, how have you been applying that now with the work you've been doing and building this whole brand around, bird watching? I mean, even you were kind of telling me, like, the market for that is what, 30, 40 billion plus? Like,
Who wouldn't know, right? So the first thing I want to give a shout out my hunger Bex. I was so stressed out because I went 35 years without having a hobby. I thought hobbies were stupid. I'm from the hood. I'm like, you got free time and you chose to use your free time spending money instead of making money? This is crazy. Like, you should either be resting to go make more money from your main thing or get a side hustle. I was killing myself inside, though. I didn't know it until you just crashed one day. So then I'm like, I got my business going. I got my hobby. I'm talking about it. I'm all passionate. And then I'm going to bed and this hobby sounded like a business. And I'm talking to my hunger Bex. And she's like, nah, you can turn your hobby into a business. Just get another hobby. I said, bro, you freed me. It was right in front of me. You know what I'm saying? So in that side, the first thing I'm looking at is don't reinvent the wheel. Are there some transferable skills from what you do now that is applicable over here in this other industry? Who your people, right? Are there some people over here? Don't try to go at this thing alone, this, whatever they call 400-pound gorilla. Why would you do that if you don't have to? You know what I'm saying? So are there some transferable skills? Is the business model similar? That way we don't have to go in with a whole bunch of unknowns. And so now I'm looking for, even if it isn't a perfect business for where you might pivot to, it's 80% similar to what you've been doing, right? The only variables is that it's a new industry that we're tackling, but we're not figuring out we know how to do content. We know how to run ads, right? We know how to grow the thing. We're just figuring out the people, figuring out a little bit of those insights, and then making sure that, the next move is the best move. So, yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's a lesson I kind of learned, even when just like dealing with clients and stuff back in the day. Like, I used to do apps and websites and all that stuff, and I would always talk about this idea of, I called it marketing momentum, right? Like, for me, what I realized what was super difficult was, let's say I did some type of marketing work for, make it up, a doctor, right? Then my next client is a auto repair shop. Then my next client is a retail store. Like, there's no efficiency in between those. Like, yeah, there are things that I learned and kind of doing that, but like, it's really difficult because you got to learn so much about that business, how that business works, the vernacular of it, kind of the ins and outs, and like, it's not transferable. So what I started doing is saying, you know what, if I got a doctor's office, let me see if I can get another doctor's office. And then another doctor, and all of a sudden you get that momentum, there's efficiency, you get better and things can happen, right? And it seems like, to the same extent, it's like you're finding ways to say, okay, like, look, like, let me not necessarily go reinvent the wheel. I know what I know. Now, how can I apply it to this industry? But also, what my man said, like, it's like you want to be kind of like an inch wide and a mile deep in this thing.
Man, listen. And so there was a phrase, again, I'm writing, thinking that me and chat, right? We locked in. And I was describing what my experience and my frustrations has been with my current business model, right? And it said, it sounds like you've been in the content business. How about looking at the business of content? You don't have to own everything. You don't have to make everything. It's already out here. You just might need a partnership agreement or a licensing agreement, or you'd be surprised how many people just want more eyeballs on their content and would be willing to let you use it as long as they just get a shout out. So now if I move over to business too, I already understand content's in my bones. Instead of going trying to make the best stuff, what if some good stuff is already out here and it just needs to be amplified? And so even that saves so much time, so much energy, because, I mean, you know what it's like to come up with an idea, if you're doing the full way, pre-production, production, post, right? Versus somebody already been through this process and they got a proven model around it. Like, hey, let's just come up with some type of agreement. So when people talk about you can either build, borrow, or buy, like, don't sleep on borrowing and buying. You ain't got to build everything. And I add one more B, which is barter. Like, can we trade something out? And you find out of those 4 pillars, 75% of it doesn't have to be built. Oh, we cooking.
Yeah, man. I think, especially in our community, what I kind of notice is, you see different things like trending. Like, right now, the thing that's like trending is like, be a faceless creator. Like, they want to make everything sound easy. And part of that I definitely agree with, because like, I don't like necessarily being on camera. Like, it's something I've had to work with a lot personally. You know what I mean? And I always see, I'm like, man, I wish I had that kind of confidence like you sometimes. I can get on there and point a camera at myself, and that's something I'm working on, right? But like, I think people do have a lot of pressure in trying to figure out like how they build things and can they build things without necessarily having like a personal brand tied to it. And I'm like, at the end of the day, it's just business stuff.
For sure. So you can definitely build faceless stuff. And I would say look at it two ways. And going back to the market, I never start from I want my face or I want it to be faceless. I always start from what's the right way to do this to serve this particular audience? Because some stuff needs a face. Because there's about to be a high transfer of money and they want to look somebody in the eyes and go, you the one I'm giving my money to. There's other stuff that might be transactional or a lot of the stuff that's media focused where the strength of the message can carry it more than you looking at the person saying it. You might have a faceless opportunity there. You know what I mean? So that's first. But then like, I mean, we're both in 2025 and 2050, right? Depending on how you look at it. So I think power to the folks that are doing that, the media hacking, being able to either borrow some things or repurpose some things without having to show your face, because you can speed that up. So I just tested a piece of content on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and it went viral on all three. This is the best part. The script was written by ChatGPT. I just gave it the starting point because I knew the unique story. It's 75% B-roll, which means I can get somebody else to do that part. And then the little parts where I show up, I'm just reading from a teleprompter, which means I ain't got to mess up. I can also clone myself, right? And so now I can outsource this entire workflow to somebody and say, here's how it's done. Do this like this. Here go 10 stories, match them up, and let's just see what happens. And I can test that. Let's just say $500 to $1,000. The first video that Facebook was the only one that was monetized, I made $130. Cool. I can make $130 a day. I can do this. I can do one of these videos a day. So that's $3,000 a month. I can pay somebody $1,000 and I can live off that $2,000 gap. Let's see what happens. So I keep it when I come back for part two, we'll have an update on that model.
Well, no, man. Look, with all the stuff you got going on too, and I love this conversation too about just like balance and finding hobbies. I'm gonna tell you, I don't have a hobby. I'm trying to find one.
Like, man, find you.
I'm working on it. I'm trying to get outside more. I'm trying to touch more grass. You know what I'm saying? Because look, at the end of the day, it's all about balance too, right? And I know you've experienced different things with balance. Just when it comes back to that part, like, how has finding that hobby helped you become more balanced and also just help you become more productive and successful in what you're working on?
So I got to give it context for people that don't know me. I didn't find it. It found me. I was the person that was walking into rooms to big cheers and standing ovations to go in and talk about content. And then I had a friend who was also a previous business partner who passed away in 2022. And before you know it, again, I don't care what's on your SWOT analysis. I don't care about your future projections. Everything changes when a core member of your team is lost, right? And I found myself, I didn't recognize it as depression. All I know is that I was ordering Uber Eats, and by the time I was ordering Uber Eats again, I had forgot that Uber Eats was already at the door. So lunch and dinner up, you know what I'm saying? And because I'm running my business from anywhere, I'm just upstairs on the Wi-Fi, but deep down, like I'm dying on the inside. And so I'm talking to my mentor, which is also, if you can get you one, get you one. And I'm going to try not to go on too far. Bring me back, B. Where I'm from, we don't pay for mentorship. You pay it forward and you mentor somebody else, right? So my mentor, who I've been with since I was 15, he's like, man, you got to find something to pull you out of this space and just kind of snowball and get the day rolling. Find something in the morning to jumpstart your day, whether it be working out or whatever. And I own a camera, but I was nobody's photographer. It was just some stuff I needed for business. And I went out and I'm like, man, I'm going to just take pictures of stuff, right? I want to go do these black and white Atlanta versus Georgia to show you how we a city within this state, but we not the same and da-da-da-da-da. And I went out and I'm taking pictures. Oh, I missed that part of the story. My buddy said, if you find what you enjoy taking pictures of, you'll never put the camera down. But me, because I'm type A and I like controlling stuff, I'm like, I know what I want to take pictures of. I want to take black and white photos of Georgia and Atlanta. And I went out, all 260 pounds, jumped over a gate to take a picture of this old vintage Coke machine. I'm like, yeah, that's it. Took the picture and I was like, part of my language. I was like, man, I don't feel shit. This is crazy. Like, so I called him back. I'm like, this is stupid, bro. Like, why you tell me to do that? He's like, that's actually not what I told you to do. I said, take pictures of everything you find and see what speaks to you. And then one day I stumbled in the park while I was eating some food in between two meetings, saw a bird and was like, Next thing you know, I'm down a hill, cross a creek, and I'm like, I'm gonna go back tomorrow because I missed a shot. I'm coming back for you. And then it kind of just built off of that. Now all of my other brain starts to find me because this is like I'm learning through the acoustics. Why did that sound like this and this sound like this? I'm learning through the visuals. Why this bird small, this one medium, this one large? Why that one chasing this one? And so all that other stuff that's been in you, the creativity, the intellect, it's also present. And I tell folks, man, it lives at the intersection of stillness and high performance. You have no control of the situation. You can't make a bird do nothing. You can only be prepared, look at the light, look at the situation, assess it, make sure you know your gear, all that preparation type stuff. And then in a split second, I'm taking pictures at 1/2500th of a second. All right. And so you just surrender to the process. And I mean, I could go on for days, but I would say that part, just getting in the hobby was amazing. It actually made me more productive in business. Because now I want to go do this thing, but I got this business stuff standing in the way. Right. So I'm like, how can I do my business quicker, faster, better, more efficiently? Because that'll give me 30 more minutes in the field, or that'll give me an hour longer in the field. It also, this the sleeper beat. Birds are most active at sunrise and sunset. So if I got to be in the park at 6:30 in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, that means the night before you can't go get drunk. You can't go run Atlanta streets doing some foolishness. So I had to restructure my entire, not that I was doing that all the time, but still.
Be outside a little bit.
Yeah, right. But I had to restructure my whole life around my priorities because I got to be at the park at 7 o'clock. And I got to be on my team call at 10 o'clock. And I became more organized, more efficient, and I think a better person for it.
Now, I love that insight, actually. Like, the whole idea of, finding something, a hobby that you really enjoy makes you be more efficient so that you can get back to doing that thing. And I think even hearing that really resonated with me. It's like, yeah, what could I find that would make me want to get some of this other work stuff out the way so I can get back out to doing whatever that thing is.
Especially, I mean, I know enough about, you got family, you got, staff, you got team. Even, it doesn't have to be something that I go every day because I'm crazy, but like, you once or twice a week that you can just look forward to, that 30 minutes for yourself, that hour for yourself. I promise you it's going to recharge you and all the other stuff that you do. So I will give you the same advice that was given to me. Try a bunch of stuff. See what speaks to you. And then when you find it, just listen to it.
And I don't want to distill it down. I don't know if is bird watching the correct term, like photography, like what is it called? I don't know. I want to respect the process.
And shout out to all of the people that came before me, right? So it started as bird watching, right? And historically, before cameras and binoculars were what they turned into, people would actually hunt the birds in order to draw them and describe them and differentiate them. Then you get to the point where binoculars and cameras sort of catch up. And so bird watching emerged as the core term. Birding is like an offshoot of that. That's one, more inclusive because there are people who are birders, but they don't have vision. So they're doing it via hearing. So one is sort of more inclusive of everybody. The other part, and people tend to delineate, is like birding is you out here doing this thing. Right, you got a life list, you got 160 birds, you trying to get to 190. Bird watching is like grandmama on her porch with, a little seed out on the banister. Us birders, we out here, we traveling, we comparing notes, so it's a whole thing. But nobody would be offended if you said bird watching, but if you really want to sound like you in the group, just say you out birding.
Yeah, I want to know. I want to know I can sound like I'm what I'm talking about.
Yeah, man, you got to come out there with me one day. Let's do it that way.
Get out there, you know what I'm saying? Black birding. You said it was black birding.
It's Black Birders Week, man. Shout out to everybody. But there's power in that. So I don't know if you know the story of Christian Cooper. So this black guy that was up in Central Park and he was out birding and had one of those Karen episodes. But luckily for him, he had a camera. So you were able to document that entire story and see the hostility that come with you just out here doing what you're doing, and you sort of get approached by somebody with ill intentions, right? He ended up birthing a show on Nat Geo that sort of talked about his whole experience and him as a birder, in addition to all the stuff that he do. But one of the powerful things that emerged, and I would say these things were happening in parallel. Forgive me, everybody, if I ain't got all of my history together. I'm new, right? But one of the powerful things has been a lot of push to make the space more inclusive, even all the way down to reforming the name. So Audubon Society is named after a person. But once they dug into his history, he's got some deep racism issues. So there was a lot of push to get that name changed. And so at the national level, they chose to keep it and push it out to the state level. But I'm proud to be in Georgia. Georgia changed their name from Georgia Audubon to Birds Georgia. to do away with their name. So a lot of that has been the Blackbirders and other people of color pushing to kind of make this space more welcoming for everybody without that veil of just dark America stuff on it. So no, it's dope. It's a good community to be part of, man.
Nah, man, I love that, man. So, with all the stuff you've done, all the accomplishments, and now even kind of like, looking at Marty now out here birding, birding and building, you know what I'm saying, doing all this work. Like what advice would 2025 Marty give to that 2022 Marty if you had to look back on everything, man?
Get your affairs in order, right? So you can get through that first level of entrepreneurship just on hustle. But like when you're really trying to build something that people pay their mortgage off of you getting your shit right, getting the ideas right. People can plan their kids' tuition off of you making sound decisions. Like you got to get your house in order. So whatever you need to do physically, whatever you need to do financially. Like I just had one of them grown up doctor visits where I'm like, do everything, test me for everything. I went to the dentist. I said, I messed up my mouth. Like, just get me back on track from all of the hustle and all of the, I'll get to that later. So if I was talking to me, I would say, take some time, get yourself organized and structured, because if you build a vision big enough, people will want to join you in making this thing a real life situation for you and for themselves. And that's a tall order. When you're responsible for payroll, when you're responsible for the growth and innovation plan, when you're responsible for going out and acquiring customers, and like stop saying followers and subscribers. These are whole humans with lives that are putting their trust in you when you said you made this thing or you want to do this thing. So take it serious in that regard. I don't want to take the fun out of it, but I want to add the integrity back into it. Because for a while, it was just, I found a quick way to make some money. Let me teach you. I found a quick way to hell with that. Like, build something that you can be proud of. So I would say my advice would have been, like, prepare for the journey you're going on. Make space for people to come on that journey with you and be the person that you know you can be. So I'm probably 70% of who I see myself as, and that other 30% kicking my ass because I got to, rediscipline myself in some regards.
Man, look, man, this has been an amazing conversation, bro. I appreciate it. We've been all over the place.
Man, I appreciate you, brother.
Before we get out of here, bro, tell them, like, how can people find you? How can they support you? Like, give them all the things.
Yeah, my name is Mahdi Woodard on all platforms. I'm most active on Instagram, so MAHDIWOODARD. And I'll be around the way just helping people, man. I'm just happy to be here. Again, thank you for the opportunity. We've been rocking together for years. I'll try not to be so hard to nail down next time. I know where to find you. But, yeah, man, thank you for letting me be random in a sense and be able to tell this story. I hope there's a portion of it that resonated with your audience. We can always go deeper if there's a subject that people need us to unpack some more. But, man, I appreciate you building a platform big enough and sturdy enough and allowing me to stand on it. So thank you, bro.
Hey, man, you're welcome. And I definitely see some things in the future, man. So, bro, again, I've seen the growth, seen the progress. I remember when we first even were connecting with each other, you know what I'm saying? Like, I reached out, I was like, bro, look, we don't know each other, but I got an opportunity for you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And, ever since then, man, you've been killing it, bro. So congratulations on everything. Happy to see the growth. And, man, we can't wait to see what you come up with next, man.
I'm excited, man. Thank you again for the opportunity to tell my story, bro.
Absolutely, man. With that said, we out. That's the pod, y'all.
Let's do it.